What did the men do?
Well, most of them were in the logging business
Oh,
of some
okay.
sort, either cutting them down or hauling them away to the mill, or working in the mill, and then there was always construction of some kind going on. So what the mill put out, and people would have to haul that away to a construction site, and then there were the men who built whatever needed to be built, or repair it, or expand it.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was always something to do. And there's
Okay.
the smithy didn't just take care of horseshoes and whatever else, harness parts and things, but also worked on the repairing any equipment, the wagon wheels if they needed it, like I said, the harnesses and the hookups. The word is not coming. I know the word for that, but it's
Yoke?
not coming to mind. Yoke, yes.
Okay.
And he even sharpened axes. All kinds of stuff. And there was more than one smithy. And there were men who traveled somewhere. I don't know where they got it, but they picked up big barrels of oil for heat and for light. And some of those barrels would be to grease the wagon wheels and where the yokes joined, and the equipment, the saw. I mean, everything has to be kept running smoothly.
In good order.
Yeah. And so, there was always something to do. And then, of course, as I got older, then it was part of my duties were to help with the cooking, and even making like meat pies and loaves of bread and slices of cheese for the men's lunches. But we all did that because all our men were working somewhere that they needed food.
Yeah.
And so
So would the men take the food with them, or would someone deliver them?
we'd usually deliver it.
Okay.
It was my dad and my brothers at first, and then if someone else needed help to feed their family of men who were out working, I could help them out.
Okay.
Like I said, always something to do.
Do you remember your last name?
It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's kind of like the word yoke. Does not want to come out.
Do you remember your dad's first name?
Jacob.
Jacob.
I knew it began with a J sound. It wasn't John, it wasn't George.
Jacob.
Jacob.
So were you guys of a German background?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jacob is a strong German name.
Yeah, but it could. That whole part of Europe.
Europe? Is that where we are now?
No,
Okay.
where my dad was from.
Oh, okay.
But that whole part, Scandinavia and other places like that, it was a strong name there too. Might have been pronounced slightly differently, but.
So were you born here in this country?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My father came, and mother, they didn't know each other then, but they came over on a ship.
Same ship or different ships?
Different ships. But somehow they ended up in the same community, I think, with their families. I don't remember a whole lot about other relatives when I was growing up. But they met and married and had, 7 or 8 of us.
Wow. Of course, back then only half the kids survived.
Yeah, there was that. And a couple of younger ones. got ill or injured. And
Just like you, passed away.
yeah, but even younger, smaller.
Okay.
They survived infanthood, which was impressive at the time. And then I ended up with, I think one of the little ones that passed was a girl, but then the rest that survived along with me, I wasn't the oldest, but they were all brothers.
Oh
Oy.
boy.
Yeah.
Well, that was good for the dad and the family because they got work done.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. We did fine.
So did your dad build your house?
Well, he and neighbors. Oh, yeah. It was something that he, and like I said, other neighbors worked together, but that's how things were done
Yeah.
then. And, but yeah, he built it and then expanded it as was necessary as the family grew.
So how many times did he expand it?
Wow. I never really thought about it. But, I'd say 3.
3 times.
Yeah. And they were pretty good expansions too, because...
So were each one a bedroom? Or were they just general rooms that...
They were general rooms that were used for whatever was needed. For a while they were bedrooms. And then as the brothers got older and married and moved on, those rooms were, well, one of them, the biggest one I remember, was let out for a while.
Oh.
That I think there were a couple of young men had no place to stay and they were involved in the logging business, of course. My mother was hopeful for me, but they were a little too coarse.
Yeah.
They made me uncomfortable.
As a good Methodist, I understand that you had a strong religious upbringing.
Fairly strong, yeah,
Okay.
I would say.
Just curious.
Good, healthy respect for the Creator God and the knowledge imparted in the Bible.
Cool. Even though now you know it wasn't. Yep.
Yeah. Well, even then there were places where I was like, really? I wasn't real sure, just what it was trying to say.
Something just didn't quite sound right.
Yeah. But for the most part, the whole idea of the 10 Commandments, it tells you how to live
Yes, it does.
and how not to live.
Well, so does, do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Yeah.
You do that, and that is the 10 Commandments condensed.
Yeah, I would say
So,
that's a good way to put it.
Yep. So you went to church on a regular basis every Sunday?
No, we had to wait until the itinerant preacher came along.
Oh, so there weren't that many ministers yet, huh?
Right, and besides which, most of the loggers didn't care, and the vast majority of the community
Didn't care.
didn't, they were loggers. And so they were like, oh, well. There were a few pious men. And then, of course, women and children flocked to the church. There was a church. But we had to wait for the preacher to show.
Okay. What's he, a Methodist preacher?
Probably. I don't think anybody ever had the gall to ask him. It was just somebody with a Bible willing to give sermons.
In today's society, the religious sides, Christian in particular, there is the communion. You familiar with that? No? Okay.
Not really, but in her mind I know what
Okay.
she's talking
So I was
about.
just trying to find out if you guys ever had communion. Because as a Methodist, we had it once a year.
Well, that's probably why we didn't, because it depended on who the preacher was and whether
Okay.
he was going to conduct it or not. I'm not even all that familiar with
Okay.
it.
So did you sing a lot?
Yeah, we sang hymns.
Okay. Were they written down, or did you just learn them by singing them?
I think there might have been hymn books later on, but when I was
Okay.
little, we all just learned because everybody sang them and you just picked up on it.
Okay. So did you have a choir for the church? No.
I know what a choir is because around Christmas time, there would be a group of people would go around and sing carols, and that was considered a choir.
Okay.
But we didn't have one in church like that.
One of Sarah's favorite things is to sing when she was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Some of them weren't exactly hymns, she's saying.
no, there weren't. There were others. So, did you have any police force, sheriffs, or anyone like that in the community?
Yeah, there was a constable, and if he
Okay.
really needed help, he would deputize some people, some men, and, to take care of things. But most of the time, people were just too friggin' bill. Ooh, where'd that word come from?
What?
Friggin'.
It came from a movie that we've watched. It's a TV series.
Okay.
It's stuff you're probably not aware of.
Anyway. Yeah. I'm getting mental pictures of what you're talking about. But anyway, yeah, whatever. What was I saying?
You were talking about deputizing.
Oh, everybody was too busy. Nobody had time to be breaking the law, so to speak.
Okay.
Once in a while, somebody, pilfer something or steal something.
So I take it things like murder and stuff were not that prevalent.
Not to my knowledge. They might have been elsewhere in the city, but not where I was.
Okay. So how many people would you guess lived in this city?
I have no idea.
Do you have any idea how big it was?
Thousands of people, I would say.
If you walked across the city from one edge to the other, if you ever did, how long would it take you?
Well, it could take quite a while, but I don't know that I ever went the whole way across, from one end to the other. There isn't really an end or a beginning, it kind of
Yeah.
peters out. But everything I ever needed was within walking distance.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cottage industries.
Yeah.
So, did you have people that used the loom to weave things?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever learn how to do that?
I learned a little bit how to do that, but it's difficult. And it was like, why? Because it was easier to go to a place that actually made the material that we needed, that I needed, that my mother and I needed, if we needed to make anything. So there were people who, oh, you asked about sheep. Oh, I don't recall that we had any.
So the wool came from somewhere.
But the wool came from somewhere, but it was already processed,
Okay.
for lack of a better word. And then it would go to the place where there were different looms for different types of material, and that's where, if it was that or if it was flax or, any of that sort of a thing, then the loomers would make a cloth. Everything from rough burlap to fine sheer curtains.
Cool.
You know, and they, like I said, there were various sizes and types of looms, and it was like you called it a cottage industry. But it was a pretty darn big cottage, pardon my French.
Okay.
You know, because of all these different sizes and types of looms, and they were always going, always.
Yeah, factories are starting to be built in that time. Frame moving from the cottage industry into the industrial industries. And that's probably what was happening.
Yeah, that could well be. I think at least my area of the city, which is weird. It was one city, and yet it was broken up into these different areas for different things, different peoples.
Yeah,
Never thought about that
that's
before.
what this area is too. We have multiple communities together in one city.
Oh, okay. I guess that's normal human being behavior.
Yeah. So, your roads were all dirt, or were they paved with brick or anything like that?
Nah.
So did they get muddy in the wet season?
Oh, yeah. Very muddy. So a lot of the boards that the loggers made that weren't high quality were laid out so that the mud, it helped to keep it under control a little bit.
You mean laid out like sidewalks?
Well,
Or
yeah, I guess you could say that, but
Was it for
also the
people to
roads.
Oh, the roads were wooden. Okay.
I mean, it wasn't like a constructive thing. They just put these boards down haphazardly, and you know, it was weird.
Okay.
It annoyed me greatly
Why?
because it was uneven, and you didn't always stay out of the mud. And after a while, the boards would start to warp because they got wet, and then it was weird. It was just,
So did they have boards along the buildings for people to walk on separately from the road?
well, okay.
Or did everyone just walk on the road?
It was the road, but people stayed out of the way of the wagons and
Right.
horses and buggies.
Okay.
Just, you know, stayed away closer to the buildings. So, but it was still all just haphazard pieces of wood.
Okay.